Now from the Weather Tracker TV Storm Studios, this is your weather today. Here's Chief Meteorologist William Cole.
All right, folks. Well, here we go on a Saturday afternoon. Meteorologist Patricia Brown, she's off today, so, well, you're stuck with me. But I tell you what, I've been looking over the latest weather charts, and I've got a solid lock on our cold front that's going to be arriving tomorrow. Details on that you're going to want to see here over the next few minutes. And then also, we've got to talk about the tropics a little bit later on in the hour because there could be some high-impact tropical activity in the Gulf of Mexico as we get into next week. Very important details on that on the way as well. Otherwise, today it's steady as she goes. It's going to be another hot one out there, right around 97 for a daytime high. And again, mostly sunny, fairly light winds as we go through the afternoon as well. So this is where we started the morning. And these were the actual morning lows. Most locations in the 70s. It was a fairly warm start to the morning, but the air mass was pretty dry. So if you were out early this morning, in fact, it really felt pretty good. Some of our northern counties, you can see, even dipped down into the mid to upper 60s. More 60s on the way in our forecast, deeper into the 12-day we'll talk about for actual morning lows. Otherwise, looking around the region, everything fairly quiet right now. There was some scattered showery activity up in Oklahoma. It has to do with a series of cold fronts up there that will merge into one and arrive in North Texas tomorrow. There's also some activity down along the coastal bend down around Corpus, some showery activity down there as well. So otherwise, looking to the north, for our weather here in North Texas, this is essentially what it's all about. You see really cold front 1 that's stalled in Oklahoma. Then you see cold front number 2 currently there in the central plains. Like I mentioned, cold front 2 will kind of merge with cold front 1, if you will. And again, that will arrive in North Texas tomorrow. Really, I think ideally we should call this a less hot front. It's not necessarily colder air, but again, you can see up across the northern tier, there is definitely some cooler air there. 50s and 60s, that front essentially for us here in North Texas, it's just going to knock our temperatures down where they should be for this time of year. So if we look at the overall pattern, there's a couple things happening here. In fact, the pattern is truly beginning to morph now early this afternoon. The end of summer heat dome that's been in control of our weather, it's now beginning to back off to the west. You can see the ridge developing out there. So the heat moves out to the west. We've got the troughing pattern developing. That's what's going to allow the cold front down into our area. And I tell you what, even for the middle parts of next week, we'll get a reinforcing shot of less hot air as well. So next week, very dry air, less humid, and again, temperatures trending at or below normal. It's definitely a forecasting, and I think you're going to like as we get into next week. So talking about that, you can see just as we look at the overview, the model here, there is that ridge. You can see through most of next week, it stays out there to the west. But again, you can see this northwesterly flow, right? We're just kind of on the edges of that storm trough. But again, our flow is still coming in from the northwest. Sometimes that can be a very active pattern. In this case, it's not necessarily an active pattern, but it will keep us in a flow pattern that, again, will give us that secondary opportunity of some less hot air coming into the area. So it's kind of reinforced. And essentially the bottom line is the forecast for next week really is looking quite good. So at least in the near term now, you can see as we go through the rest of this afternoon, as we go through tonight, making Saturday night plans, whatever, everything looking good. Now here comes the front tomorrow, right? But notice what the model does here. You're going to see a few blips show up. I think the overall rain probability, you see it right there. It's still pretty low. This is a 10 to maybe 20% opportunity, but just like we've been talking about all week, when you get these change of air mass fronts, again, a lot of times you have a couple isolated showers along them, and in this situation, I think that could be the case tomorrow. So some very, very low-end rain opportunities, but again, outside of that, it is a dry forecast going forward in time. So daytime high right around 98 today. And again, you can see we're going to be up in record territory. Our record is 99 for today. Our coolest daytime high ever on today's date is 60 back in 1974. I was just laughing because the live cam there is going through a cycle, so bear with that. And again, daytime highs across the area, mid to upper 90s. We're back down into the 70s for overnight lows. Tomorrow, Sunday, we will do these 90s one more time, and you can see the live cam. It's resetting itself there. But by the time we get to Monday, there it is on the back side of that front. We're talking about some 80s showing up after that 10 to 20% opportunity on Sunday. You can see going forward there, it's essentially a very dry forecast, very low humidity, but look at those actual daytime highs, generally in the mid 80s, overnight lows in the 60s. You'll like that forecast.